Generation 6 for My Little Pony has been announced, and it's just around the corner. Already made a short covering my initial thoughts, specifically on the decision to bring back 4/6 of the main characters from Generation 4, and I got quite a lot of comments that made me realize something. I don't think a lot of newer or more casual fans quite understand how the pony generations really work when it comes to bringing back characters. For example, one type of comment I saw a lot was, "What are you upset about? My Little Pony brings back old characters to be the leads for new generations all the time." And yes, that is technically true, but just because they might have the same name, that does not always mean that it's the same character. In fact, very regularly, ponies will be brought back for a new generation, but will have wildly different personalities and even different designs.
But as Pink goes, this is fabulous, darling.
Fabulous takes forever!
Which dominoes into the second type of comment I saw, which was, "What happened to Twilight's wings?" New generations from My Little Pony aren't actually usually continuations of the previous story. There's no guarantee there'll be any type of continuity between generations. They're not one big ongoing story, it's essentially a clean slate. Different generations can have different lore, magic systems, settings, characters, all of it. That's why Twilight isn't an alicorn. This isn't a continuation of Friendship is Magic, it's an all-new story. The fact that they're bringing back at least 4, but presumably all 6 of the prior characters will only make this new continuity even muddier for viewers. However, before we start looking forward to the future, I got to thinking about turning back to our pony past. I want to adventure into all the prior generations of My Little Pony to really see the evolution of the main characters. What is the world of My Little Pony like around Gen 4's massive popularity? I want to go back and take a look at a movie from each generation. It felt like the most fair thing to compare them all by choosing something longer and more cinematic than a run-of-the-mill episode might be, with one notable exception, but we'll get to that in a sec. First, Generation 1.
Your twinkle is back, sweet stuff.
Generation 1 started in 1982 and lasted all the way until 1992, a solid decade. There's only one film for the ponies that came out during this time, simply titled My Little Pony from 1986. The first thing that really caught me off guard with this film is that it definitely seems like a continuation of a story I didn't know about. And that's because it is. While this might be the first film, there have been TV specials before, specifically Rescue at Midnight Castle. It sets up the character of Megan, a human girl who helps the ponies out. You're definitely supposed to know who Megan is when you watch the movie, because the ponies just casually name drop her, and I was sitting here like, wait, there's a pony named Megan?
Oh, it can help us, and Megan's got it.
But no, it's this Barbie lookalike. Rescue at Midnight Castle features a lot more ponies Gen 4 fans would recognize.
Twilight, will I ever fly like Firefly and Medley?
Including Tyrek as the villain. But honestly, aside from introducing Megan and the general pony world, you don't need to watch it in order to follow the events of the film, though I do recommend Rescue at Midnight Castle over it. It's just a lot more thrilling, and I prefer the art style of the ponies here, and Firefly is so cute, I love her.
Can fly, too. At least I could before my wings got soaked.
But actually, weirdly enough, the only returning character for the special is Megan. None of the ponies she adventures with come back for this film, instead introducing a whole new cast of characters. Which, funny enough, made me think about the very conundrum I'm having with Generation 6. I guess since this is all still Gen 1, I expected more continuity with the main cast of characters, but I guess not. I suspect it was all just to sell a new batch of toys. The other thing that jumped out at me was how much more of a tone shift there's been, especially with the villains. Tyrek is like a whole demon centaur thing with an army of ghoulish creatures. For the film proper, our villains are instead a family of comedic, bumbling witches. Hydia and her 2 daughters, Draggle and Rika. Look, I know they're supposed to be witches, but these two look more like the Canker sisters from Ed, Edd, and Eddy.
Well, then we'll make everything dang. What's dang? I don't know.
The witches don't like the ponies because I guess just because ponies are nice and cute, so they go about trying to cover the land in a purple goo called the schmooze, which makes anything it touches mean? Not like wicked and evil, just like I don't know, kind of rude, you know?
What's wrong with you? What does it look like, Bubblehead?
The ponies travel across various magical lands to find a way to stop the schmooze, needing to recruit Megan and her siblings to help them along the way. Is that a regular horse? Regular non-My Little Pony horse? What? On top of that, they're also trying to find one baby pony named Lickety Split, who ran away because she threw a tantrum after getting called out for totally ruining their play, along with Spike, who follows her to try and help.
You're not the star, you know. I can do whatever I want.
Lickety is the pony we spend the most time with, which is a shame, because she's mostly a whiny baby with an annoying voice. But weirdly, the actual heroes and ponies barely get a lot of screen time. The human kids get several moments of personality, but the majority of the ponies feel like strangers even by the end of the film. Hell, I struggled to even remember any of their names with how little they got to actually talk with each other. In fact, the majority of their screen time gets dedicated to the comedic antics of the witches.
I turned the last one. I'm eating! Oh, you're always eating.
The ponies that do star in this film, aside from Lickety Split, are Magic Star, who's the sort of leaderly one of the group.
No, it's not. You're just grumpy because you've been smooth.
She initially goes out with Gusty and Shady. Her name is Shady because her cutie mark is sunglasses, which is weird, odd naming choice. Gusty spends most of the movie covered in schmooze and is just nasty to everyone. Shady, on the other hand, has crippling self-depreciation issues and thinks she's bad luck.
It's all my fault. I know it. Yeah, it is. You're bad luck.
Along the way, they also team up with Fizzy, who has such crazy-looking eyes. When we get a close-up shot, we can see her eyes are like gemstones? That's wild.
Sorry, it's just that sometimes I get so excited.
And also Wind Whistler, who has the most serious-sounding, stern voice from the whole cast, and it's lovely.
Megan, time is of the essence. We've come for the rainbow of light.
As far as main characters go, I find it fascinating it's mostly Earth ponies. On top of that, Fizzy's only magical ability seems to be teleporting. There's not really much point of having so many characters for this journey. It ends up being a lot of running around until they find the Flurry ponies. Apparently these Flurry ponies can just magically stop the schmooze. That's the only thing they can do, I guess. The squad rolls up and is like, "Hey, can you get rid of the schmooze?" I don't know. I don't really feel like it.
That you're the only ones who can stop it. Try to understand. We wish only to be left alone.
Are you fucking kidding me? Yeah, okay, you're right. We'll help. It'll be literally so easy. Why not? As a kid, I would have loved this. As an adult, it's fine enough, though it definitely drags a bit at times. For the most part, it's a silly little comedy with some nice animation and thrilling enough fantasy scenarios. The worst part is easily the songs, mostly sung by the witches or Lickety Split, who all have the most annoying voices for singing. Fun fact, the king of the Grundles is voiced by Danny DeVito.
It's what everyone thinks. But Grundle's not monsters.
And on top of that, Rika is voiced by Rhea Perlman, and her and Danny DeVito would later star as Matilda's parents in the movie Matilda. So I think that's kind of fun. I want to do this thing where I pick one of the main characters from these generations and make my own main 6, built by one of each past generation by the end of the video. And for Gen 1, I'm definitely picking Fizzy. I think her design is super cute, and I like her energetic, talkative, high-spirited personality. I might change some design elements for the characters a bit, but it's not like that hasn't happened before, like how Twilight changed so much between Gens 1 and 4. A good start to my pony team so far. Time for Generation 2. Oh, what's happening? Why isn't Gen 2 showing up on screen? Huh? Was that? Oh, there's no animated media for Gen 2? So yeah, I was kinda confused. After 1992, My Little Pony went on a bit of a hiatus, and I guess then, in 1997, they tried to make a comeback with what we now call Gen 2. It only lasted 2 years, ending in 1999. There wasn't any cartoons or movies, only one PC game, which looks like just like a kind of Tamagotchi-esque raise and take care of your pony thing. Other than that, it was just toys, and they were notably lankier with longer legs and necks. Ironically, they actually look a lot more like horses compared to the chubby, rounded features from Gen 1 at least. The only information we got for specific characters came from the toys. Taking a quick little visit to the My Little Pony wiki, we can learn that there was a core 4 for Gen 2. Ivy, Lightheart, Sundance, and Sweetberry. Though there were 2 other commonly reoccurring characters, Morning Glory and Sky Skimmer. Look, Sky Skimmer is our first instance of a pony sharing Fluttershy's color palette. Though looking at her description, her personality is way different. She's instead sporty and like mountain climbs and stuff. Also, she's an earth pony instead of a Pegasus. In fact, all of them are earth ponies. Don't get me wrong, I think earth ponies are perfectly swell. It's just shocking how little these old generations played around with the more fantasy pony kinds. Not to mention the fact we literally won't see an alicorn until Gen 4. Well, for the pony I would pick for my main 6, I'm going with Sundance. Sundance is really very bold, clever, curious, and an adventurous explorer. Her eyes shine with excitement when she races off to discover fantastic new places. She loves to discover the most secret places in friendship gardens. Sundance is good at storytelling. Her friends enjoy listening to her narratives, which could make the hair on your body stand up. That sounds fun. She's cute. Looks like we have a bit of a go-getter, thrill-seeking author on our team now. Time for Gen 3.
That was close.
Gen 3 started in 2003 and lasted for a few years until around 2009 and has tons of TV specials, but only one story is classified as a movie. Given the fact it's only 44 minutes long, I presume it doesn't have anything to do with the runtime and rather, like, distribution. You know? My Little Pony, A Very Minty Christmas.
Maybe a scooch to the right.
I remember back in the day when Gen 4 was really popping off, there was a dime a dozen brony content creators who would non-stop trash talk Gen 3. Coming to this film on my own now, it's like, it's fine. It's perfectly fine. There's definitely art directions I prefer from Gen 1. I think the Gen 3 ponies look cute and appropriately little and horsey, though their teeny tiny itty bitty little ears feel a bit odd. I just wish their hair had more variety. Everyone's kind of styled the same exact way, and only the color palettes differ. Gen 1 also had a lot more open fields, perfect for a herd of horses to run around in, while now the setting is much more busy and more suburban. Though this is also the first time our setting is now called Ponyville. In Gen 1, it was just called Dream Castle. This is also the first time we get to see non-flyers using hot air balloons as their main mode of transportation. Aw, look at how different they all look. Reminds me of Pokemon. How fun.
I can't see it. Oh, hey, could I climb on your shoulders?
Minty, there's tons of room on the other end in the line. Why are you cutting into the middle? Being a Christmas special, the stakes are kind of naturally a lot more low compared to the antics from the Witch Sisters and their mother. There's no real villain this time around. Instead, it's more of a personal character conflict. Minty here is our main character, who's voiced by Tabitha St. Germain, who would later go on to voice Rarity in Gen 4.
They're all knotted up. Just like Christmas.
I am going to the Wonderbolts Derby as a guest of Fancy Pants.
Tabitha also voices one of our other main characters, Thistle Whistle, who is a big ol' worrywart, is afraid of clouds despite being a Pegasus, and has the habit of whistling in the middle of all her sentences.
Did she say clouds? Why does it have to be clouds?
You get used to it, I guess. Along with those two, our other main reoccurring ponies actually consist of quite a few familiar names. Pinkie Pie here is actually the leader of their group.
First, we need to go rescue Minty.
She takes command when the going gets tough, she makes plans, she's level-headed and understanding. She's not the only one who's a far cry from their Gen 4 counterpart. After all, here comes Rainbow Dash.
Oh, darling, you can never have too much of something you love.
She is, by all accounts, just Rarity in this movie. Her personality is exactly like Rarity from Gen 4. Posh, fashion-forward. See, this is what I really mean when I was talking about that new Gen 6 announcement. Sure, My Little Pony has been bringing back characters for ages, but they're not the same characters. Their designs might be similar, and they might have the same names, but their personalities can wildly differ between generations. So the fact Gen 6 on the surface looks like it's going to be doing the exact same thing for the girls as last time, I don't know, it might be confusing for people. It sounds like we'll just be retreading old ground. Anyways, back to Minty and Christmas.
Broken? You broke Santa?
Minty drops a large glowing candy cane that's meant to tell Santa where they are. So now that it's destroyed, she's worried Santa will skip over Ponyville and no one will get any presents. Her initial idea is to just give them all a bunch of socks.
Rainbow Dash for Sparkle Works!
This feels so weird. Like, did Big Sock make this movie? Was this a ploy to try to make kids more appreciative of receiving socks as a Christmas present? Actually, in the end, Santa is inspired by her sock concept, and that becomes the inspiration for hanging stockings by the fireplace, I guess. After talking to Pinkie Pie, she suggests Minty instead goes to the North Pole to just help direct Santa to Ponyville, but she ends up getting lost along the way. Thistle Whistle also gets caught up in it all too. Our last main character is here to help though. Starcatcher. Wow, look at all the markings on her. I think it's because she's like the leader of the Pegasi ponies. Similar to Wind Whistler from Gen 1, Starcatcher is very serious and has a more mature voice than the others.
We need to find somewhere to land until the weather clears up.
I'm picking Starcatcher to recruit for my main 6, by the way. I think she's so cool and I really like her design. Unsurprisingly, the movie ends with everything being alright. I do like the detail that we never actually get to see Santa. It's weird when there's humans in the pony world, right? That's easily the thing that's the most off-putting about Gen 1, and they seemed to have immediately dropped the ideas with all future generations. This one is fine. There's only 2 songs, technically 3 if we count the reprise at the end, but they're a lot more tolerable than Gen 1. It's a lot less exciting as a story. Maybe it's just a more suburban setting, maybe it's the nature of the Christmas whimsy. Not to exclusively knock this movie down though, I will say this one did a way better job at actually giving the various ponies personalities and interactions.
Oh, hi, Mince. Thought that was you. Hey, nice sock.
With Gen 1, I was constantly going back in my notes to double check any of their names because they just did not leave any impact on me. Here, with Minty's Christmas special, I got a way better sense of who these ladies are and their established friendships. Though, weird thing, there's no unicorns in this movie? Like, not even with the main 5 characters, like, even with the background ponies, there's no unicorns. I suspect it was because they were going to introduce unicorns in a follow-up TV special, but it just feels so weird to me. Why wouldn't you capitalize off of the built-in fantasy of using unicorns and Pegasus ponies? I don't know, maybe it's just the mild OCD in me that really liked the uniformity of the equal species distribution from Gen 4's lineup. Which, speaking of, it's time to finally tackle the popular girls.
Yeah, the Queen!
Gen 4. You all know about it. It lasted 9 years from 2010 to 2019. I've gone in blind to every other generation, including Gen 5, but obviously I am also very familiar with Gen 4. I stopped watching the cartoon after Tyrek blew up Twilight's tree, but I still kept up with what the goings-on with their plotlines were. This movie, however, is kind of uncharted territory. My boyfriend ended up watching it with me, and he knows nothing about ponies. I can confirm that even as a complete outsider, he had no problems catching on to the different distinct personalities, and enjoyed the adventure and found plenty of jokes funny. The only issue was he couldn't keep up with anyone's names, so I guess there's that. Something kind of similar to Gen 1, I suppose.
Together.
The thing that immediately jumps out at me is how differently animated this movie is. The original show clearly used a sort of Flash-style puppet rig for the ponies. This is totally different, and it kind of weirds me out. Not that it looks bad, it clearly looks very detailed and lovely, but I don't know. Maybe it's just because it's so different from what I'm used to. Maybe it's because it looks like their gigantic anime eyes are going to consume their faces. One of the things that stood out the most was just how much more detailed their ears are. It's weird once I noticed it. I know Gen 4 is the most well-known, but I'll give a rundown of the main characters just in case you're new or need a reminder. Fluttershy is kind and shy and scared. She was always my favorite, but I admit it's a bit of a bummer how little she gets to do in this film.
You seem tense. Do you want to talk about it?
Similarly, Applejack also felt a little forgotten. She's strong and brave.
Any pony up for some free samples of my family's apple cider?
Rarity and Rainbow got to do a little bit more in the story thanks to their different skills and more chatty personalities. There was a point when the girls were falling and Fluttershy didn't even bother opening her wings. Come on, girl! Your friends are in danger. Don't just leave it to Twilight and Rainbow. You have wings! You know how to fly! Anyways, Rainbow Dash is energetic and proud.
Hey, Applejack! I'll race you to that coral!
And Rarity is, similar to Gen 3's Rainbow Dash, more fashion forward and proper.
Twilight asked me, so clearly she's going for fabulous.
Pinkie Pie and Twilight got the most screen time. Pinkie is hyper energetic, happy, silly. You could call her the random one of the group. And then there's Twilight Sparkle, the quote-unquote leader for their group, Princess of Friendship, Bookworm, Worrywart, and my least favorite character from the whole show.
Well, maybe I would have been better off without friends like you!
I've never liked her. I like the idea of the librarian thing, but holy crap, she is just such a bitch most of the time. Especially in this movie. She is the Princess of Friendship. She has been the Princess of Friendship for a whole long while, and yet, even now, she constantly undermines her friends, ignores them, and just is generally annoyed with all of them. All the others are bending over backwards to help Twilight with this journey, and she just goes behind their backs to complain, or ends up messing everything up. She comes across as super selfish, not like the Princess of Friendship.
Silly little ponies.
It's been a while, but we finally have another villain for the story. Technically, this other guy, the Stormlord, is the villain, but this unicorn with a broken horn, Tempest, is the real adversary our heroes are trying to escape from for the majority of the film. I know the witches from Gen 1 aren't really much competition here. Obviously, Tempest is much more threatening and imposing, but even the more comedic villains like Grubber and the Storm King manage to feel like they should still be taken seriously, though I'd say they're comparably just as funny as the Witch Sisters. While I was watching the film, I was taking notes, and one of my notes is literally just actually good songs, thank fuck. If you're going to listen to any of them, look up Tempest's villain song, Open Up Your Eyes. It's amazing. It's so good. I admit I was a little disappointed with the addition of the Sia pony. It felt weird.
I'm looking for the pony in charge.
This film has a lot of action, and a lot of exploring new lands with new creatures and things. You don't need to be a fan to enjoy this movie, but there are a ton of little things fans would notice and love seeing. Something I really liked was at the very beginning, there was this Pegasus that seemed to be Firefly, that pony from Rescue at Midnight Castle. Hooray, I really like Firefly! It's cool seeing a little cameo for her here. Fingers crossed she gets to come back for Gen 6. As for which pony I'm picking for my lineup, I might surprise you, but I'm actually gonna go with Twilight. I don't like this version of Twilight, but I think this character archetype and style has a lot of potential. In fact, I'm hoping Gen 6 can kind of make her a bit more tolerable for me. Personality-wise, I already have an adventurous leader, a serious motherly type, and an excitable fun-loving pony. Adding a smart bookworm to my mix would be a lot of fun. On to Gen 5.
Izzy, we're going on a quest.
Gen 5 was always going to be fighting an uphill battle, trying to live up to the enormity of Gen 4. Unfortunately, it just couldn't live up to its predecessor and only lasted about 4-ish years, from 2021 to about 2024-2025, depending on who you ask. Which is a shame, because I think this generation introduced a lot of very cool visual ideas for pony designs that have become sort of a staple in the fandom, like differently colored hooves. Or I guess, like, also hooves in general, too. The Pegasi also get differently colored feathers for their wingtips, which is very eye-catching and cool. I like the eyebrows, the colored-in eyebrows, that's fun. There are some visual changes I'm not a fan of, though, like the fact that their cutie marks are only on one side of their flanks. Also, their cutie marks in general are really tiny in this film. They just feel like we're missing out on a more unique, classic element of the My Little Pony style, you know? I also don't like how all the unicorns' horns look the same, a bit like frosted glass. It makes their horns feel fake, right? Anyways, diving into the movie proper, and we got...
Hurry, friends! Time for another adventure!
Oh no, this was an awful idea. Gen 4 hangs over this film like a shadow, and it feels like the story is split between trying to lean into the Gen 4 references versus trying to be its own new thing. There's Gen 4 stuff peppered all over the place. Background art, hell, Twilight's cutie mark is friggin' everywhere. People were already going to compare this to the previous generations just because of its popularity, but to try and make the story seem like a continuation just made the comparisons even worse. Every time I saw something that made me think of Gen 4, I just thought I could be watching that instead.
This is proof. all pony kinds did used to be friends.
And it just makes any differences feel even weirder. Gen 4 had an established canon, from these little things like the cutie marks not being on both sides of their flanks, to the bigger stuff. It just brings up unnecessary questions. Speaking of that big stuff, how did all the ponies separate?
It's like every pony just forgot.
This whole movie is about the fact that the three pony kingdoms used to all live in harmony, presumably Twilight Sparkle's specific kingdom. But now, they're all separated. They think awful things about the others, and because of this separation, they've lost their ability to use magic or fly. So what could have possibly happened after the adventures of Twilight Sparkle and her friends that led to such division? Well, they never tell us. And I don't think this point would have felt so naggingly important if they didn't try to paint it as a continuation of Gen 4. And it didn't need to be a continuation either. It could have just started its own thing and have this plot point without dragging the main 6 from Gen 4 back into it.
You are brainwashing their mind.
It's called research, Phyllis.
Phyllis? Phyllis? Fuck, maybe there could be a pony named Megan.
Oh, it can help us, and Megan's got it.
Time to introduce our new main 5. First is Sunny, the main character voiced by Vanessa Hudgens. I was a bit worried after reading that because I'm only familiar with her singing from her performances as Gabriella in High School Musical, and I hate Gabriella's singing. She's very boring. Fortunately, Sunny is astronomically better at singing than that. In fact, her first song is one of the best ones from the film. She is dedicated, adventurous, kind, and the only one in town who thinks unicorns and Pegasi could be friends.
Today's the day, Dad. I actually have a plan this time.
There's Izzy Moonbow. Funny enough, she actually reminds me a lot of Fizzy from Gen 1. They have the same excitable, bubbly, energetic personalities as each other. I wonder if initially this was supposed to be Fizzy, but then they decided to make her a bit more original and change it to Izzy.
Hi, new friend. My name's Izzy.
She's also voiced by Kimiko Glenn, who's also Nifty from Hazbin Hotel, which is a lot of fun. Also, she's the girl who breaks up with Jack in the beginning of the Bleachers music video for I Wanna Get Better.
Why don't you just, for like 1 minute, come inside and then we'll just...
No, Jack.
So, that's a little fun fact for you. There's Hitch, our first ever male main character, at least male pony main character.
I know that you have come up with some harebrained scheme to sabotage it.
He's the sheriff, so he's a bit more stern, but still friendly. There's this cute little extra detail that small animals really like him, so they gather around him when he's near. That's cute. Our 2 Pegasi are sisters, Zip and Pip. They're the princesses of the Pegasi people, and Zip is the more adventurous and casual one.
The whole kingdom will be so excited they won't even remember what happened back there.
While Pip is like an influencer and is a bit more proper.
Then why are you here?
For the content.
Pip is also voiced by Sophia Carson, who also plays Evie in Descendants, aka the best character from Descendants. I'm not a fan of Pip's fluffier wing style, it makes them look fake. Anyways, I mentioned Pip being an influencer. That's something else that's very new with this generation. Technology. This is easily the most technologically advanced society we've ever seen for the ponies. TVs, smartphones, I'm not gonna lie, it's weird. The ponies have always been much more rustic. Even when they had homes, they're usually more like cottages, like with a Gen 3. The idea was that they had magic rather than tech. In this movie, they spend a lot of time in various cities, and it always feels very small, especially Bridalwood, where the unicorns live. It feels really narrow, and they really only stay in the one little tea shop the entire time. It's a bummer because when they're outside the cities, in the open fields, this film is gorgeous. These backgrounds are beautiful. Why couldn't our movie take place over there?
We're supposed to get along, remember? And they never use their magic against each other.
They absolutely did. Have you seen Trixie? Or Sunset? Or Starlight?
Just imagine if you had a friend who could fly.
A lot of Sunny's mentality for wanting to be friends with the others sound entirely superficial. OMG, wouldn't it be cool if your friend could fly? It sounds like we're boiling down friendship to just what cool things and abilities people have. It kind of undervalues the concept of Earth ponies too, because they don't have anything all that special that helps them stand out. This movie seems to have completely abandoned the idea that Earth ponies are stronger. Also, the fact Sunny thinks this firmly based solely on what her dad says, defying their own history, apparently.
Well, that is kind of what our teacher said in history class.
Just makes Sunny come across as kind of crazy. I wish she would have had actually met a unicorn or a Pegasus as a kid, and that was what convinced her so much to feel this way. Like, maybe she actually ran into Izzy as a foal in the forest and they had a fun day together. Which would also help the fact that Izzy just kind of shows up for no reason. She just got bored, wandered into Maritime Bay on a whim, and that's what starts this adventure, for no real reason. It makes Sunny feel very inactive. She's so dead set on this notion of being friends with the others, so why doesn't she just leave? Once the girls left, I was shocked that there wasn't like a fence or security or something. I figured there'd be systems in place to keep the ponies inside, safe and sound, and keep the evil other ones outside. But no! So why didn't you just leave sooner? After her dad dies, because of course the nice dad character just dies, why didn't you just go on an adventure?
I was told all you Earth ponies smell like rotten sardines, but you do not.
Honestly, this whole movie feels like it struggled to have anything happen. It feels so fucking repetitive. Over and over again, it's just them talking about all the ways they assumed wrongfully of the others. We hear about the stereotypes they have of each other, but we never get to learn about the real values and cultures of the different pony kinds. An hour into this film, and they're still doing this. It takes until like halfway through the film for them to actually figure out what they need to be doing, too. Before that, it's just a lot of wandering around, being confused or scared.
You lost your magic because the crystals were separated.
Then the climax is just a lot of running back and forth grabbing crystals. The lack of a real villain really hurts the flow of the narrative. Our quote-unquote villain is this pony, Turnip Sprout. He sucks. After Hitch leaves, he takes over as active sheriff, and then they continue to think the unicorns and Pegasi are bad, but they just kind of sit around and wait. He starts a plan to go out to fight them, but by the time he's ready, the unicorns and Pegasi were already chasing after the heroes, so they just showed up in town, and it was a lot of running back and forth, and doesn't really flow together very well.
Mommy, was I a good sheriff?
The biggest threat Sprout has is his Splatterpult, which literally just throws Nickelodeon-ass slime. Also, his song super sucks. Easily the worst song from the whole film, which has some pretty decent songs. A bit sort of generic radio pop here or there, but still. And then Sprouts just sucked, and it's a massive disappointment hot off the heels of Tempest's 10 out of 10 villain song last time. Well, at least it was better than the Witch Sisters, so I can give him that. This ending makes no sense. I like the idea that it's not the crystals that are able to magically bring things back, and instead, friendship was the real magic all along. But then, like, the three pseudo-rulers sort of get on board with equality, and that is what makes the crystals do their things? What about the other 5 main characters and their friendship? And she becomes an alicorn? And that's dumb. That's so unearned feeling and weird, and it only further makes Earth ponies feel pointless. Just further hammering home, wouldn't it be cool if we could fly? That you didn't care about friendship, you just wanted cool things. It's like you want to be friends with the kid next door, not because you actually like them as a person, but because you want to use their trampoline. And it wasn't even her friendships that made her an alicorn either. It's the suburban mom, an old queen, and random tea dude who activate it. General leaders of the groups and not the friendships she's made along the way. Terrible, terrible ending.
Hooves to hearts!
This movie was such a letdown. Our main characters feel so shallow and barely have time to interact between the non-stop running around. The world feels unexplored despite going all over the place. It insists on stopping to constantly bring up its history, but never bothers to actually explain it. And the conclusion, while well-meaning, feels really flaccid. I just can't shake the feeling this film must have suffered from a lot of rewrites. If I was a kid, I'm sure I would have liked it, but maybe not as much as some of the previous generations. Prior pony films always featured some sort of fantasy element. Witches, satyrs, hell, even Santa Claus is a magical character, and I get that the lack of magic was sort of the point for the narrative here, but it just makes this movie feel very empty. Maybe if Sprout had, like, I don't know, captured a dragon or something as protection, rather than building a boring mech with splatapults. Maybe that would have made the climax more fun. He loses control of the dragon and all the other ponies need to work together to help save each other and stop the threat. Maybe the dragon could have been a reference to Spike, or they find Spike's egg or something, I don't know. This generation has potential, but this movie doesn't really feel like a good start to kick things off. Also, I swear, I thought there was supposed to be another unicorn. I've seen one, this blue one with really pretty hair. I wanted to snag her for my main 6 lineup, but I guess she must only be introduced in some sequel special or an episode of the show or something. Instead, I'ma just nab Hitch, a nice, well-rounded, down-to-earth character. Also, his yellow pelt and green mane makes me think of Magic Wand from Gen 1. That's really cute. Maybe they'd be related or something. And now, Gen 6, finally. Not too much of that. I ain't getting a musical copyright strike. We don't know much about Gen 6. I've already made a short discussing my initial thoughts, but I'll go into some more things here. It has been confirmed that apparently Applejack and Rarity will be returning, it just won't be right from the start. We've seen a few clips of the voice cast recording their lines for these 4, and they seem to be pretty similar to the Gen 4 personalities.
Who knew? It's all gonna be so different. Coming in hot! Let's do this.
This concept art looks very pretty, but we haven't seen what the actual animation will look like yet. I'll just have to pick one of these girls based on what I know about their classic styles, and well, I already revealed Fluttershy as my favorite. I'm gonna take her. I like this new greenish splash in her hair, but I actually want to put that green into her coat. Hitch is already yellow in my lineup and I want to add some visual variety. This would be my main 6. Eh? What do you think? My gut reaction to this announcement of Gen 6 was one of doubt, and I can't deny I still feel a little worried about their insistence on sticking with the Gen 4 characters. As we've seen, each generation really gets to be its own thing. There might be recognizable styles or names, but they can be wildly new and different. I worry Gen 4 will overshadow any new spins on these classic ponies. This is supposed to be new, but by dragging back the same old designs and names and personalities, it's gonna kind of force us to compare it to its predecessor. However, I am also very excited about this. Going through this big retrospective, it really reminded me how much I just really love the world of My Little Pony. No matter how different it is between generations, I just really enjoy the little adventures of these little horses. And now that Gen 6 is on the horizon, I can't deny it, I'm really jazzed to see what they do next. They've already confirmed there's not going to be cell phones in this generation, but I'm dying to know what the story is. What magical adventures do they get to go up to? Will Spike be coming back? Will other classic characters from all 5 previous generations find a way to make at least cameos? I'm so excited to see, and I just have to wait and be patient. Doing this retrospective and revisiting the prior generations, I've had a lot of fun. The evolution of their designs and world might change, but at the core of it all, it's still always about trust and friendship and magic. We've had humans, different styles of magic, separation of pony kinds, an obsession with socks, and a variety of villains to varying degrees of success. And songs. Lots and lots of songs. Good songs, bad songs, the worst songs, and the best songs. Now we get a look to the future to see what's next in store for our little ponies. Extra special shout out to my $100 patron, Mesothelioma. If they were in a fantasy world, I bet they could handle a dragon or 2. Shout out to my $10 patrons, you're all amazing. Andrew, Valhalla Knight, Chamomile, Classy Critic, Azoth, Genital War Thunder, Jake, Amber, Scaring Crows, Messiah, Jacob, Ben Sketchbook, Lucienne, Wild Pilot, Bunkin Duncan, Hoodie Angel, Ranger, C1 Trooper, Tech, Lavaros, Unspoken, Tyrene, Thanos, Pandora, Peter, Aguri, Eden, Silverheart Soul, Doki Pokey, Zappy, Wolfgang, Philip, Nerf Ned, Middle Coop, Cat with a Knife, Rose, Mar Ruby, The Lover, Maximum Warp, and Senior Columbia. So what do you think? Are you excited for the new generation? I'm excited. I'm worried, but I want to see more. I want to see what the actual animation looks like, you know? I want to get a sense of the characters a bit more. It looks nice. The art is really nice and it looks promising, but what are you thinking? Also, what's your thoughts on the previous generations? I really liked Gen 1, especially Return to Midnight Castle. That one was really fun, actually. But if you've seen the previous ones, do you have any, like, prior thoughts? Any favorites that you liked or didn't like? I didn't talk about the TV specials or episodes. What about those? Anything you really liked from previous generations? Hopes and theories for the future generations? Any and all thoughts and opinions about My Little Pony? I would love to see them in the comments below. I hope you had fun. I had a lot of fun, and I can't wait to see you in the next one. Bye-bye.